The title of this video is why everybody should lease a car. My name's Tony Swedberg. I work at Mercedes and I've been in the car business about 6 years. Everybody I close on a lease. So right now the interest rates are crazy high. The best rate you can get is around 5 to 6%. Maybe some people see a little bit lower, but not typically, okay? And if you do the lower rate, you got to finance really short term, and when you finance really short term, your payment's really high. So why is leasing the best way to go? Leasing's the best way to go because it's just like financing. Financing a car is for 6 years. Leasing is for half that term, so about 3 years typically. Now, the first 3 years, you're paying essentially almost no interest. If you have a good lease, which most leases right now are really good at, Mercedes at least, and even Lexus and other makes and models, they're very good. So to keep it short and simple, 6 years is a normal finance term. That's 72 payments. A lease is half of that, right? So 3 years. The first 3 years, you're paying almost no interest. That's why your payment's so much less. So if you're financing a car, maybe you're $650 a month. And if you're leasing a car, you're at $500 a month. People lease to buy all the time. So for the first 3 years, you're paying way less interest. That lease has probably half or even less interest than if you were to finance. So for the first 3 years, you're paying much less interest. You're going to be paying the car off. Every lease payment still goes towards paying the car off. At the end of the lease, you'll know exactly how much you owe. If you're going to buy your car at the end, it doesn't matter how many miles you put on the car. You're not going to be penalized because you're buying your lease at the end. Now, at the end of the lease, at the end of 3 years, you've already paid off half the car, around that number. So at the end of that, you can decide, hey, do I want to keep this car or do I want to get something else? And if you decide to get something else, you're not upside down in your lease, right? Also, bring up that there's a lot of benefits to leasing, and that's why you have to have good credit to lease. You have to be a 660 minimum, or sometimes you can do a little bit less, but 680, 700, over 700 people can lease. So leasing has tons of benefits. Every lease includes gap insurance. Gap insurance is $700 if you were to add it in finance, if you were financing the vehicle. But every lease just includes that already. So in a lease, there's a money factor, right? There's not an interest rate. So essentially you can say there's no interest, but the money factor comes out to an interest rate, and that interest rate is much less, maybe 3%, which is a rate that you cannot get right now. So I have general managers come in and buy cars from Mercedes. They're retired or retired people in the car business, and they lease to buy every single time because they're saving a bunch of interest right now. They couldn't imagine having an 800 credit score and paying 6 or 7%. So they lease the vehicle for the first 3 years, and then when they go to finance, hopefully the interest rates are dropped by then, and they can just, finance the car then, and then buy their car, and they know that they're just paying their car down at a lower interest rate. So there's a little couple nuggets for you, whatever you can pull from that rant, but leasing's the way to go. I had a customer who wanted to finance a vehicle. I got him a 4.99 interest rate, right? So 4.99 interest rate they wanted to finance. That's a great interest rate. She had an 870 credit score, but we had a special interest rate through Mercedes, which is 4.99 for 60 months. But her payment was too high, $711 a month with $10,000 down on just a C-Class, which is pretty expensive, right? Well, I switched her to her lease. She put $5,500 down, and she was in the 400s. So she put almost half the amount of money down that she was comfortable putting 10 grand down. She put half that down, and then she was still $200, over $200 less a month. And boom, I made a deal for me. I gave her a lot of value by teaching her about a lease. I took her from, I want to own my car. I explained, the bank owns your car when you're financing it, just like when you're leasing it. And if you're going to buy your car at the end of the lease, you don't have to worry about getting hit for any dents or any dings on your car, or if you missed a service, or if you're late on this, or if you went over your mileage. If you're buying your car, you're not going to be penalized. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe and share this video with somebody that you might think wants to finance a car and they should probably lease it.